So this is going to be a little bit longer today, but I do feel like this is a critical point for us to grasp, to understand. Dr. D.A. Willard, in his book entitled Hearing God, Developing a Conversational Relationship with God, writes about 3 ways of encountering or engaging with God. I'm going to call the first one the theory of God's presence. This first one is when we know rationally that God is close to us, even though we're not tangibly aware of him. That is, we know the theory of his presence, even if we do not or cannot see any concrete evidence of his presence. We accept it on faith that God is there. I think a lot of us live in this zone. If someone were to ask us, especially in church, we would eagerly confess that we believe God is always with us. But for the most part, we are not aware of his presence in our lives. Our lives are too busy, or we ourselves are too worried, or too anxious, or too angry, or too tired, or too happy, for that matter, too content, too blessed to even take note of God's presence. He's there, God is there, we're just not aware. The second I'm calling a sense of God's presence. If I were to use the slang term, I might call it the tingles. These are moments where we sense God's presence. We're at a conference, or at a worship service, or we're in prayer, or somebody lays hands on us and we feel a tingle, a warmth, a flash of heat, a shiver, something. Maybe we start to cry. This is where our charismatic friends like to hang out. It's kind of a point of pride when it happens, when I fall over or shiver or sigh or get a quote unquote direct download, as some like to say, or a direct answer to a specific concern, since it gives me an instant, I'm anointed status if I can convince people that, I've had it or got it or had it. But sadly, this sense of God's presence is too often lied about. It's easily faked, and as a result, many Christians respond with skepticism or shy away from any talk of a tangible sense of God's nearness. For my part, I think it makes sense that should the living and holy God draw near in a way that we can sense him, that it's understandable that flesh would have some sort of tangible response, some concrete awareness of his presence. In its purest form, it is this category of engagement with God that most of us are pursuing, most of us are chasing, longing for, to know that God is present with me, with us, right here, right now, to know because he can be felt, even if he can't be seen. I know he's real because I can feel him, right? We would have full prayer meetings and services if we could guarantee these moments every time we gather, for a season anyways. The problem I've seen is that for far too many of us, these kinds of moments with God become the goal. And for too many of us, when these sorts of experiences happen, we think we've arrived, that we've reached some sort of spiritual destination. I was at a worship service, at this event, and God's presence came, and it's amazing. I'm hoping you're not hearing what I'm not saying here. I'm not suggesting that these kinds of experiences with God are somehow wrong or bad. They aren't. Each of us have had, I hope, experience with these 3 types of encounters with God, and they are an important part of the journey. You and I are going to have moments where we do not tangibly feel God present, but we believe by faith that he is there. And yes, we will also, I hope, have moments where God draws near and we are overwhelmed with his nearness. And I pray that we will each experience the 3rd category of engagement with God, which I'm calling, for lack of a better way of putting it, signs and wonders. I know that description has become quite loaded, but rightly understood, these are moments where God allows us to join him in what it is that he is doing. Moments where God uses us, works through us, to powerfully change us, to change others or our surroundings in supernatural ways that far exceed our ability or even our understanding. Infused and used. Moments where God steps into our time and space, to alter time and space and matter and life. Consider every God moment in the Bible, both Old Testament and New Testament, and in every case when God acts, there is some sort of human role, right? I'm not suggesting that God needs us to act or to engage before he is able or willing to move. I guess I guess I'm asking, how is it that we fail to see that God's priority has never been stuff or the accomplishing of duties, but God's priority has always been relationship? Why is he always inviting us to join him in doing stuff that we are nowhere near capable of doing and probably are only going to mess up? Here's the thing. As I mentioned this third instance or type of engagement, some of us are like, oh man, I really want to be there. I so want to be the person that God uses to do the supernatural, that God works through. How do I learn? How do I discover this? How do I walk in that? And what it is that he is calling me to be involved in? Can I respond with a little bit of a parable? Let's say that life is like a concert. God is conducting the orchestra, and followers of Jesus are instrumentalists. Some of us play violin, others cello. Me, I'm on the trombone. We, as good orchestral members, read the score and we play our part. We play when there are notes in the music, and we sit silent when we come to rests in our music. As a trombonist for several years, I once sat through 100 measures of rest. For those of you who are not musicians, that's a lot of time to sit there while everyone else is playing. As a trombonist, as an instrumentalist in this orchestra of life, I do not wait for, nor do I need a personal word from the conductor before playing each and every note. Sure, sometimes I might get a nod in my direction or a flick of the baton here or there, but he's not going to stop the concert and provide personal instructions to each musician for every note. I know the conductor's intent because it's written on the page in front of me, and we have rehearsed it. I know my role and I fulfill it. Imagine the chaos if the conductor must give a personal word to every musician before they play or stop playing any and every given note or rest. Every parable will break down if you push it too far. So let me make my point. It is because, no, I'll word it as a question. Is it because we do not know the Father, haven't spent time with him? Is it because we lack intimacy with him, because we are not familiar with what it is that he is seeking to accomplish, that we feel the need to get a personal word for absolutely every single step we take? Just a question.